Did you ever wonder what could have been with the AWA had things gone differently? Had their fortunes gone differently? Had certain wrestlers not left and perhaps more money would have been at the disposal of the Gagnes? Well, wonder no further. You can go to Brad Drake's YouTube channel and experience the 1987 Supermod for yourself, as Brad Drake starts off in May 1987 along with Greg Gagne, Baron von Raschke, Vern Gagne himself, Nick Bockwinkel, Larry Zbyszko, Kurt Hennig, and a slew of others as he plays and saves the AWA.
Welcome to another edition of Bumps and Thumps and Talking Wrestling. I'm Brian Ferguson. My guest today is a rising star on the independent circuit. He wrestles currently in Extreme Pro Wrestling and other independent circuits, but he is currently the EPW, Extreme Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Marko Harris. Marko, thanks for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before we come on. Ralph Harkey is a friend of mine, and he thinks very highly of you, speaks very highly of you, and he asked me, he says, you got to get this guy on here. And I said, all right, and here we are. So I appreciate it, my friend. Let's talk a little bit, if we could, Marko. Childhood, growing up, where are you from? What was your family life like? I know you're pretty young, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. So, but just tell us a little bit about growing up.
Pretty much, I'm from Jackson, Tennessee. I was born on December 28th, 2003. It was my mom and my two older brothers, pretty much. I'm the youngest child on my mom's. And pretty much we just grew up in a duplex, and it was just like a normal childhood. I mean, nothing too crazy, of course. Like, everything around me was just like out there. I wasn't really much of an outside person. I was more like to myself, rather stick with the family, I guess. But during that time, it was just like all I knew was like sports and wrestling, pretty much. Like Monday Night Raw would come on. I was watching TNA. I was watching like everything. My brothers were already into it. They picked up the video games, and then that's where it all just from there, pretty much. So it was SmackDown versus Raws, and yeah, that's just pretty much all I do. Like everybody in school, elementary, I was showing up with like John Cena shirts and everything, and that's just how my life was at the time.
Yeah. Hey everyone, this is Brian Ferguson. Fans of the AWA, you are in for a real treat. My friend Joyce Poston has just released her book titled My Ringside Seat to the AWA. Joyce writes about her personal experiences with wrestlers such as Nick Bockwinkel, Lord Alfred Hayes, Baron von Raschke, and others. Joyce also has published many photos from her collection that you will not see anywhere else. Order today by email at joyce.postion@gmail.com. Payment is through PayPal. The book is only $20 plus $6 shipping and handling. International orders, please email Joyce for shipping charge. Folks, run, don't walk to your keyboard, and order today. And enjoy the podcast. That's awesome. I want to say, you're 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be 20 in December, about a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And you are at a young age a heavyweight champion in a independent. That says a lot about one of your abilities and one your character. Because I know you just said you grew up with your mom and two older brothers. So I know life wasn't easy. But so what made you decide, you know what, I'm going to go into pro wrestling. I'm going to go to this training. What just gave you that ambition? Did you train in high school? I mean, did you do any wrestling in high school or anything? Or talk about that a little bit, if you would, please.
So again, at a young age, I was just wrestling's all I knew. That's pretty much I knew I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to. So this is where the wrestling cycle begins pretty much. In my sophomore year, there's this guy that I keep hearing about. He's like, all my friends, they all know I'm a wrestling head. Like, I love wrestling. And they're all talking about it. And it's like this one teacher, he's a wrestler. And I'm like, huh, who's the teacher? And I haven't got him yet. But my sophomore year, Spanish class, and I walk into the classroom. I'm expecting I'm just expecting just a normal Spanish class. And everybody's like, he's the wrestler, he's the wrestler. And mind, it's Jason Genesis, pretty much. The man that trained me and the man that I currently just beat for the heavyweight title.
Wow. Wow.
So just to start there pretty much, I was doing good in school and everything, but I was like, once I heard something about wrestling, I was like, all right, we're shifting over here now. So me and him, we just instantly started talking about wrestling, like the entire class. And it just went and went and went. And pretty much, I finally asked the question, like, hey, how did you get into wrestling? Like, just trying to figure out, like, how did you get in? And he told me, but he told me he was wrestling at the time here in Jackson at USA Championship Wrestling under Burt.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, sweet. I've never been to an independent show. I've always been to like the live shows that come into town and all that stuff, but never independents. And he finally told me, but he didn't tell me like a certain time. He didn't tell me he told me the place, but he didn't tell me the time. So I get there. My mom's taking me. I couldn't drive at the time. I think I was like 16, I think. And I get there and it's like in a club. I'm confused. I'm like, can I even get in here? Can I get in? And then and I see everybody walking out and I'm like, oh no. I show up as soon as it ends. First
Oh
ever.
no.
I show up as soon as it ends, and I'm like, man.
Hello, everyone. This is Brian Ferguson, the host of Bumps and Thumps, the talk of wrestling. I want to tell you about a new podcast out called Falls Count Anywhere. It is a classic pro wrestling podcast that brings you the legends of wrestling with true wrestling fans Chris DiCarlo and Charlie Turner. They bring on guests that are legends in this business, as well as wrestlers of today, promoters, referees, you name it. They have them on there, folks. And I encourage you to listen to them. If you're on YouTube, watch them. They drop every Saturday. They have their podcast. They drop it in the afternoon. So look forward to that podcast coming out. Falls Count Anywhere podcast with Chris DiCarlo and Charlie Turner. Folks, you will not be disappointed. I guarantee it. And enjoy the podcast.
But he got me, he grabbed me, Jason, and brought me around back, and we were just talking for a little bit. And pretty much the next day, he was like, we can try to get some training in, and I'll let you meet everybody, which everybody was mostly just Bert and Johnny Morton and all them, really good people. And yeah, so the next day we go up there, we're training pretty much, and I meet Bert. Bert, I didn't get to like stick around for when Bert was still with us pretty much, but I got like just a small glimpse of who he was as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him, but mind you, I haven't even gotten to the ring yet. I haven't gotten to the ring. I haven't done anything. I just told him my name. And he was like, oh, I really like that name. And they gave me like that boost of confidence, like, oh, this is great. I like this. I like this little feeling I'm getting here because I don't know, compliments go a long way for me. So,
Yeah.
but he's telling me all this, and I tell him my name, and it was like around this time is when everybody really started calling me Marko, because my name is Marko Harris. I
Right.
just for my normal name, and he was like, try to find a name. Try to find a name. I told him Marko Harris. He was like, I like it. I like it. I really do. But he was like, try something else. Try something else. And I was thinking about just taking the name completely, just like not even using like anything close to my actual name. But nothing was just rolling off the tongue. And then everybody was like, why don't you just go with Marko? Like, be Marko. And then I was like, even the last name? They were like, yeah. So finally happens. I go through my training. But then sadly around the next year, COVID had hit. So full year off that. I only got
Yeah.
at this time pretty much was about, I would say, 2 2 to 3 months of just training pretty much. And then when I came back after the whole COVID thing, I started reffing a lot more because I was already reffing at that time, but I wasn't reffing consistently. And I started
Yeah.
reffing. I come back, it's under TCW now, under KC Gold and Johnny Morton.
Okay.
And I'm reffing, just doing my training, traveling with the guys pretty much. And then out of nowhere, I finally, like around, like, I believe a week before my debut, I guess, Casey comes up to me, he's like, "You're gonna have your first match." And I was like, "What?" No gear, no nothing. I'm like, "Oh no, this can't be it." My family, they need like a month advance. So I'm like, I gotta have my family here. I gotta have this and this and this. And I'm like, man, I'm just excited at this point. So
Yeah.
uh I finally get everything, and it's about coming down to the time pretty much. I'm like, I don't even have a nickname or nothing. I'm just gonna go out there as Marko. Like, who am I? I'm already asking that question like first match. I'm like, who am I? And Casey and Jason both come up to me and they're like, well, actually, Casey, I was like, who's my opponent? That's what I was concerned about. I was like, who's my opponent? He was like, take a guess. And I guessed like 5 times. None of them correct. First time, first ever match. Jason Genesis, the man that trained me. And he was like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And I knew like just by like the way we train, I already knew it was just that feeling of like this is gonna be one of those moments that just, it's a feel good moment, pretty much.
Hmm.
But I knew it was gonna hurt. So yeah, and it hurt the whole family
Yeah.
every time. But the over just watching the video back from now to then is it's a good feeling. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your training. You know, you were trained by your Jason.
Mhm.
What was that like when you first, let's like the first time you got there, you got into the facility, you know, maybe they probably explained a little bit to you, but taking that first bump, taking that first whip into the rope, what was that? I mean, were you like, okay, this isn't what I was expecting, or was it? It wasn't what you were expecting, I guess.
Uh, well, my first ever bump, because I was reffing before the training, which was
Hmm.
like back. I guess I got into reffing before training, so I already
Hmm.
knew like how hard it was gonna feel. I knew that part,
Okay.
but that was just on the wrist. That's just on the wrist. I haven't taken any ref bumps or anything at this time, and pretty much we get there, we're training and everything, and I don't know, just I don't even remember the first bump, honestly, but I do remember, like, being sore a lot. I remember being sore a lot.
Yeah.
First time running the ropes, though, we call it the John Cena pretty much, where, like, you got the whole wide leg up pretty much in the ropes. Yeah, did that a lot, and that was just messing up my back. I had, like, a rope mark on my back, and it was I'm glad I did change. I'm just glad it changed pretty much, but, yeah, running the
Yeah.
ropes like that, just back and
Yeah.
forth, and it was pretty simple, but the training wise, Jason trains way different. Yeah, like a lot different than everybody else here, I guess, which
Okay.
is, in my opinion, not to be biased, but a good thing, I guess, because it's just like
Hmm.
we're in the South, and especially in our area, it's not like
Hmm.
we only know certain things that
Hmm.
other people up north and all that are being taught pretty much. But Jason
Hmm.
has like that new modern mind, which I'm not saying like the old school is bad either. I'm not saying none of that. I'm just
Right.
saying when you get kids like around my age, that's normally who he kind of attracts to pretty much to
Hmm.
train. It's like you of course you're gonna learn your basics, but when do you finally step out of the basics?
Yeah.
That's pretty much. So and him kind of like showing me the basics while also showing me at like a more medium style, medium pace pretty much, kinda like encouraged my fast
Yeah.
pace and just steady pace during the match, pretty much. So, and he also wasn't like he was a hard trainer. I will say if I wasn't getting it down, he was going to push me to till I got it
Mhm.
down. That's how it is
You're
with a
right.
trainer. But even still, it was like me and him were both learning new things with each other. So
Mhm.
it wasn't more of like a training session. It was just more of like, how can we do this to get better with each other, pretty much.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
having that type of style of training just kind
Yeah.
of, I guess, boosted me. So
Well, it's interesting that you're 19 years old. So you've been doing this for a few years.
only a year.
Well, a year. Let's say a year. You had COVID, kind of held you back a little bit for a while because of that. And let me ask you this: I know you've done some match or some cards in Mississippi area, Booneville, Tennessee.
Mm.
Have you been anywhere else? I mean, as far as outside of that little, not little, but that area.
Yeah. I have went to Indiana first ever time. I went to Black Label Pro. It was just for Battle Royal, but I got a dark match with Walker Haynes. That's my twin. We have the same birthday. So
Okay.
uh, I rode up there. It was a really good experience because at that time, this is when I was like kind of getting introduced to independence, like how deep the independence really is. So I was
Mhm.
watching YouTube clips of like just independent free matches, pretty much, and Black Label Pro would always pop up. A lot of my favorite wrestlers from independence were on Black Label Pro.
Mhm.
So, and at this time, Marco Stunt was in the area around our area. Him and Walker are really good friends. So he introduced me to Marco, and it just kind of shot up from there. We went up to Indiana. It was me, Walker, Marco, and Allison from
Mhm.
TNA, and pretty much it was me and Walker had a dark match, and then after that, it was the I can't remember, but it was a battle royal. I can't remember. I think it was like around Valentine's Day. I can't remember, but
Okay.
really fun time, and just the experience of having to finally travel out and like go that far.
Yeah.
That was a I couldn't sleep. That was one thing. I
Yeah.
just couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep.
Too
But
excited, right?
yeah, I was just like, man, what are we gonna do tomorrow? What's happening tomorrow? Am I gonna see all my peoples and all that stuff? But it was fun.
Wrestling fans, promoters, wrestlers, and anyone who enjoys pro wrestling now have something new to be excited about. The Wrestling Fans International Association, the WFIA, is back. WFIA is an association that exists to promote, grow, and support professional wrestling throughout the world. Membership is free. Your membership includes a free digital bi-monthly publication of the Wrestling Fan News newsletter, association updates, voting privileges, and much more. Please go to thewfia.org, that's THEWFIA.org, and become a member today. Good. I want to add, when they decided, hey, Marco, we want to put the belt on you. I mean, that's a great honor. But two is, you're very young. So that tells me, and probably people either watching or listening to this, that at 19 years old, you have that it factor. I mean, if people are watching, they can look at you. You look very uh, athletic. You speak very well. You have that charisma, I guess I want to say. And I don't even know you. I mean, this is the first time we've met. Uh, but I've watched a couple clips of you, and I couldn't believe when Ralph told me that you were under 20 years old. I was like, he must be mistaken. And when you say you've only been in this business, wrestling actually for about a year and a half, that tells me that you've been trained right and you wanted to learn. But when they wanted to put that belt on you, kind of tell me your emotions, your how it felt. Were you nervous? What was that like for you?
It was it was a lot at the moment because it kind of came out of nowhere, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess I can go in depth. It was more we were trying to build something pretty much with the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
where not many people in the area, we brought our whole basically like our whole teacher versus student storyline from Tennessee to Mississippi.
Okay.
So we were trying to build something with that. People from Mississippi don't know that we trained. They never even
Mm-hmm.
seen us cross paths before. Like except one time we tagged when we were heels. Because before a year ago I was a heel, and we tagged at that time, and that was the last time. Didn't no more like just no more seeing each other pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And once they finally told me that like this is the moment pretty much. I think we had two matches. My match when I came back to PW, that my return match. And it was another match we had. It was a triple threat match. And then after that, apparently they were just like, he's ready. And
Wow.
normally I'm a calm person when it comes down to like being told news and all that stuff, but there was like I've always had like cruiserweight titles. I've had tag team titles, but like heavyweight title, that always just it barely missed me. So finally being able to hear that and have like that relief of like, oh, finally all this work I've put in pretty much just like trying to change myself, change my body, change my just everything pretty much.
Yeah.
And finally work up to like that I look like a champion, I am a champion type of role now. It felt nice. It felt like I can get
Yeah.
all nerves. Like as soon as the music hits and the match was great again. It's out now. Episode I want to say 106, I believe. I can't remember, but it's
Okay.
like one. It's out now. Um, once once you hear the three, the pop, all my emotions just like at the end, I'm yelling. Like I'm losing
Yeah.
more than I did during the match, and that was just like my actual emotion finally coming out, pretty much. Because I just haven't had that feeling in a while, pretty much, where
Yeah.
it was like I haven't had that feeling, truthfully, since like I would say like my first match, where it was just emotion, raw emotion, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Wow. I mean, to be so young and to be given the call, that says a lot about you. Um, and sounds like you got a bright future. But I want to ask you this too, Marco, if I could. Chemistry with people. See, I know you've only been in the business a little while, but I wanted to ask you, besides your trainer,
of course,
who is a person that you've either wrestled against or wrestled with as a tag team that you just everything flowed well, you just have that it factor with them, it's smooth. Is there somebody that comes to your mind?
you think it's something that just falls smooth. Uh, hmm, just so smooth. I'm trying to think. Honestly, like I would say, with the few times of like just us tagging, it was in the beginning uh of like when I first started wrestling.
Hmm.
I would say when I've been tagging, no. Okay, yeah, I got one for both. I got one for both. Someone I
Okay.
flowed with during the tagging, I would say would be Wayne Moxie. It just felt natural. He's an independent wrestler here doing big things. I think he just had a breaking championship run down in SPCW,
Okay.
and he's doing good things now. But when I first started at TCW, but they put me in like a small tag team a couple of times, and one of the tag teams were Hops and Dreams with me and Moxie, and because at that time I was known as Hang Time Harris, and he was known as the Dreamweaver. So we came up to
I like
Hopes
it.
and Dreams, yeah, Hopes and Dreams, that song, and It was a fun time. It was just fun, and it felt natural. I feel like I can just be myself and just have fun pretty much. But with someone, wrestling wise, like just going against, at this time, I was branching off from TCW, I believe, and moving down towards Middleton, Tennessee. And there was this one guy named Devin Taylor. He's passed away now, but he kind of made me feel in the area. It was just like he was like
Mhm.
my wrestling brother, I guess. Where it was like
Okay.
that first ever time, and we wrestled about twice, 3 times, and just in that short time of like being able to know him, I guess we had some good matches. And I would say for like at the time we were both like now just coming in green and just trying to you know enjoy
Yeah.
him and enjoy ourselves and let the people enjoy us. And normally it would be a pretty good match, I would say.
Yeah.
And that's just all the guys coming up to, "Oh, that was pretty good," and, like, the fans too. So, just knowing that me and him were, like, so green and still being able to, like, put on for the just, like, simplest things. Like, I know it wasn't top tier, but at the time, hey,
Right.
classic.
All right. Yeah. I wanted to ask you too, Marco. Your family, you talk about them a little bit. What do they think of all of what you're doing now, getting into the business? Are there some mixed feelings on it, or are they, what's that like for you?
Um, so my mom at the time my mom, when I first started, she she was, like, confused at first because at this time, I was, like, playing soccer and everything. I was the captain of the
Mm.
soccer team, and that's just what I thought I was gonna do before wrestling. And I told her, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna start training for wrestling." And she's like, "Well, like the good old give me a 30-minute lecture of being safe and, just watch out who you trust and all that." And of course, that's basic. That's just something
Yeah.
implanted in me. So that was that. And then my older brother, he's the jokester of the family where all the jokes sort of come out, he's talking about me wearing the tights and everything. And it's just really funny. But he's supportive of it also. But my middle brother, he's the one that's really pushing me. Cameron, he's pushing me, just trying to be a better me, helping me come up with new ideas, merch, videos, and just
Yeah.
things in general. He's the guy that I can go to and sit down. If I really have that problem, we talk
Yeah.
about it. It's all supportive.
Good. It's good to have that supportive network, especially your family.
Mm.
It really does help a lot to know that at least you have them in the background. So, a couple more questions here. One is what's coming up for you in the next month or so, as far as there's any dates or things that are coming up for you that we can put in the description down there for you.
Okay. Uh, well, I got a doubleheader this week. I got Friday, uh, down in Bradford, Tennessee, Premier Pro
Okay.
Wrestling. I'm the junior heavyweight champion there. I will be defending against whoever comes and whoever shows. uh, then the next night we got I can't pronounce it. Manchese, Mississippi, I believe, at the high school. It's a fundraiser for the volleyball team, and last year we did not even last year, a couple of months ago we did a fundraiser for another volleyball team, and someone tried to disrespect the coach, so I had to show up and show out. So that's gonna be going on Saturday night also, and uh, I will be having a graphic, I guess, showing all my future dates and everything, and also
Okay.
new upcoming merch and pictures and just things to sell. So
Awesome. Social media. I know you have a Facebook page. Do you have any other social media
I do.
accounts? Okay.
I,
Let's. What do you got?
for Instagram, we got at Marco Wrestles.
Okay.
And then if you want to go follow my YouTube, I post just not random, but like more of like my favorite edits for matches. It's
Okay.
Marco Does Things on YouTube.
I like these. Okay. Great. And I am excited. You seem like you're a very nice and polite young man.
Thank you.
And so your mother raised you right, and your two brothers. And I want to say that I'm so glad that Ralph Harkey had me reach out to you. It sounds like you got a bright future ahead of you. If you keep progressing as you have already, heck, a few years you might be in one of the big three there, WWE, AEW, or Impact, And I could say, I interviewed that guy back in the day.
Sounds good. I'll have to
Yeah.
shout you out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you see this man on the marquee or on a poster, or if you see it on social media and they're in your town or close to it, go see those shows. These guys, I know these indies, especially in the last 5-6 years, have really brought up their game and put on a card that is like top notch. And it's a lot of them now. It's not the carnival that is perceived as now. It is top notch, first class. And one more time, ladies and gentlemen, Marko Harris, thank you for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me again, man.
All right.
Thank
Like
you.
I said, folks, if you see him on the marquee or on a poster or social media and they're in your town, go see him. Support these guys. Buy a t-shirt. It ain't going to kill you. There's probably $15, $20. A picture. I'm sure they'll take a picture with you.
Yeah.
Sign it, all that good stuff. Folks, if you're watching, thank you. If you're listening, thank you. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And we will talk to you soon.